Hi everyone, Susumi here. I'm going to try a fold-it monomer design, and let me just go tell the fold-it chat that I'm live, and you can admire this lovely diagram of the Rossmann 2x2 fold that I'm going to work on. See if we can bring in anyone from Global tonight. Okay, so we had some conversation earlier tonight in Vet Chat about whether a Rossmann 2x2 could be done in a fold-it monomer design puzzle. Fold-it has all these filters that you have to satisfy, and the Rossmann has some particular challenges to it. So I'm going to try that tonight. This diagram right here is from the Grishin lab at University of Texas Southwest. Let me actually go grab that link and throw it in the chat. Where is that? Here we go. There we go. So if you have a Twitch account, you can chat in the Twitch chat. If you are watching without a Twitch account, you can toss some questions out in the folded chat, and I'll try and pick those up from there. Okay, oh, and that link I threw out is for this particular diagram, which is the Rossmann 2x2. But if you go to that website, they have diagrams of a few other interesting folds, some of which can be made in fold-it design puzzles. So that's a fun one to look at. Okay, so let me talk about what the structure of this fold is. It starts at the end terminal. Terminus, I don't know. Segment 1 is right here. It starts with a sheet going up. Helix comes down in the front, and another sheet goes up. You'll notice all of these sheets point up. They're parallel sheets. They're all pointing in the same direction. That's a hallmark of the Rossmann fold. Although I was reading today on Wikipedia, and they said mostly parallel sheets. So maybe you can have a Rossmann with one or, a small number of anti-parallel. But we're going to do all parallel tonight. Okay, so it went sheet, helix, sheet. Then the next helix is on the back, which means the loop has to go in the other direction. That's one of the challenges of this fold. So the helix goes down in the back, another sheet going up, helix down in the back, sheet goes up, and then the final helix on this one comes down in the front. And it's called a 2x2 because there's 2 in the front and 2 in the back. If you had 3 in the front and 1 in the back, it would be a Rossmann 3x1. So it seems fairly simple. Now, the problem that I anticipated with this fold is that fold-it has a filter on its monomer design puzzles that says no more than 50% of the residues of the amino acids can be helix. So you have to make at least half of your fold either sheets or loops. And in this fold, if you've got 4 helixes, let's say you made them 14 residues each, that would be 56 helix residues. So you would have to have at least 56 sheet and loop residues to balance that out, or else you would get dinged on the secondary structure filter. And with just 4 sheets here, if say they're 7 segments long each, that's 28. And you add the loops into that, it doesn't come out to 56. So in order to make this work with the secondary structure filter, I'm going to toss in an extra sheet that's not in the diagram that I'm working from. I could attach it to the end terminal and put it either here or there, either side of that sheet, but then it would be, the one that I add would be pointing down so that it could connect here, which would kind of disrupt the flow of this protein, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to attach the sheet to the C terminal here. It's going to be that very end of the protein. And again, I have a choice. I could put it up through the middle here, I could put it between these, or I could put it between these. The Wikipedia article I was looking at today said that this first set of 3 things, sheet, helix, sheet, is the most conserved, that is the least changing across different proteins in the Rossmann fold. So I don't want to disrupt that by putting a sheet in between. So I'm just going to put the extra sheet right here in the middle. And I made a little diagram of my own. I usually have a little ugly pencil sketch. Let me find that for you. Please don't scream, I know it's ugly. Okay, so this is my Rossmann plan. And let me decode this a little bit for you. So I'm going to start right here with residue 1. Sheet's going to go up. Helix comes down in the front. That's this slanty line. Second sheet goes up. The next helix goes down in the back. You can tell which ones are in the front because they slope from northwest to southeast, and the ones in the back go from northeast to southwest. Okay, so the second helix comes down, sheet goes up, third helix is down, again in the back because of the way it's slanting. Sheet comes up, and this helix is on the front because of the way it's slanting. And this diagram to the left would end right there, but I'm adding this fifth sheet on right here. Okay, and I decided I'm going to use my two favorite ideal loops for folded design puzzles, which are the green, blue, blue, and the green, blue, red. You'll see those when I get to the fold. I know we're not looking at fold it yet. It's going to be boring for some people, but I do like to plan things out beforehand. So all of my loops are going to be 3 residues long. They're going to be either green, blue, blue, or green, blue, red. And both of those loops require that the helix be on the opposite side from the end side chain in the sheet. So let's look at this first sheet. Up here, that helix is on the front of the protein. It's closer to me than the sheets. And so the side chain, the last side chain of the sheet, is going to have to be on the back of the protein. It's facing away from me, that side chain. And so I put an X there for a side chain facing away. And because this helix is on the front, at the other end too, the side chain that's closest to it in that next sheet has to face away. The next helix is going to be on the back, which means that this side chain has to be on the front because of the loops that I've picked out. So I have X's for side chains facing away and O's for side chains facing towards me. Again, the helix is on the back, so this side chain has to be on the front, facing towards me. Next helix is on the back. Again, this side chain's on the front. This side chain's on the front. This helix is going to be on the front of the protein. It's going to be closest to me, which means this side chain has to face away. So I've got an X there. And again, this side chain has to face away. So that's what the X's and O's are. It just shows me which way the side chains are facing. Now, that means, so looking at these first 2 sheets here, I've got an X on one and an O on the other, which means these 2 side chains are pointing in different directions. So these 2 amino acids cannot hydrogen bond to each other. They can't line up even in the sheets. This sheet is going to have to be either a little bit longer or a little bit shorter than the one next to it. If I make it longer, then this side chain won't have anybody to bond to on this side. It won't have anyone on this side because it'll be longer, and there isn't another sheet on this side, so that's not going to work. This side chain of this sheet, or this amino acid of this sheet, has to hydrogen bond on one side or the other to another sheet. Otherwise, I'll get a ding on the ideal loop filter. So I decided to make this amino acid hydrogen bond to the second one in this sheet. That's what that line is. That's showing me that this one and this one are going to line up when I build it. So this sheet is going to be a little bit shorter than that one at the top. Okay, since this one is longer, it sticks up past the top of this one. It's not going to bond over here. It has to have somebody to bond to over here. So I decided that this sheet in the middle was going to end with a side chain facing away, and it's going to line up in length with this second sheet. Okay, the next one at the top, I've got an O. So again, this O can't hydrogen bond to this X. They're pointing in opposite directions. So this sheet's going to have to be either a little longer or a little shorter than this one. And we'll leave that question open for just a moment and look further along. This one also has a mismatch, an X on one and O on the other. So they can't hydrogen bond to each other. This sheet has to be either longer or shorter than the one next to it. I can't make it longer because it doesn't have anyone to bond to on the other side. So this sheet has to be shorter than the one next to it. It's going to bond to the second amino acid in this sheet, which means this one in turn has to be shorter than the one next to it. Okay, so these are going to be the tallest sheets at the top. the ones on either side are going to be a little bit shorter, and the one on the left is going to be shorter still at the top. Down at the bottom, I had this one's an X, that one's an X, so I arbitrarily decided that this one would be an X2, and they would all line up evenly. These two are both O's, so these two have to be either a little, they can be the same length as each other on the bottom, but they have to be either longer or shorter than this trio here. And since things are getting shorter up here, I decided to make them longer down at the bottom. So this X is going to bond to these guys that are at the ends of their sheets, and these two are going to stick down a little bit further. Okay, that's what all the X's and O's and hydrogen bonds are about. I started out thinking, oh, maybe these longest ones could be 9 residues long. I penciled that in, and it turned out to be too many. So I settled on 7. I know it's an odd number because I have an X at the bottom and an X at the top. So the bottom and top side chains are facing the same way. It's going to be an odd number of amino acids. So I've got 7 for the middle one. Second one is the same length, 7. This one to the right is 1 shorter at the top, and it matches at the bottom, so it's going to be 6. And this one, this sheet is shorter at the top, but it's longer at the bottom. And it's an odd number. It's got O's both at top and bottom. So this one is also 7. And then this one is 1 shorter than that, so it's 6. So I've got 6, 7, 7, 7, 6, going from left to right for my sheet lengths. You add those up, you get 33 residues in the sheet. Remember, the count is important because I have to have no more than half of my total be helix. Okay, I've got 9 structures. I've got 5 sheets and 4 helixes. That means I'm going to have 8 loops connecting them. And I said I was going to use all 3 residue loops. So 8 times 3, I'm going to have 24 in the loops. And then I come to the question of how long are the helixes going to be? There's some information about this in the second ideal design paper in the supplement.